Hi, everyone. My name is Sana Ahmed, and I am the founder of the Product Marketing Magazine. Every week, I introduce some really great thought leaders in the technology space, and get to hear from them how they're using product marketing to drive innovation with what they're focused on in their technology sector. And this week, I have Alex Broudy. I'd love to pass it over to him and have him give an introduction on himself.
Hey, Sana, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So, my name is Alex Broudy, and my journey into product marketing hasn't been entirely linear. I started out as a business analyst in mobile and multi channel technology and found my passion in 2013 when I co founded cryptoprinting.com. It was an early endeavor into the blockchain space where we sold 3D printed products for Bitcoin, Litecoin, other cryptocurrencies. And it was an excellent eye opener into understanding how to develop a product market fit for such a niche industry that was very, very small at the time, and is finally growing to be something a little bit more mainstream today. Uh, Along the journey of my professional career, I became a senior business analyst through different positions in social media marketing, where I worked with product teams, as well as consulting with boutique firms and investment bank clients, where I was able to improve the email marketing campaigns of a particular investment bank by about 500% campaign over campaign. And throughout the process, I've just been learning about different aspects of product marketing, SEO, how to write great copy that makes a mark. So this has been my journey into where I am currently focused in the blockchain side. And I'm very excited about the disruptive technologies and how to explain the complex technologies in very simple English. So give it back to you.
That's great. Thank you for that introduction. I have two questions for you. One is explain to the audience like what business analytics is like, especially when you're dealing with technology products. We all have our assumptions and definitions of it, just like we do of what we think product marketing is. But like, what exactly does that mean? And then how does that business analytics sort of fall into I want to hear how you define product marketing and how that sort of connects together.
Yeah, great. Sounds good. So I think you're spot on in that business analytics, like product marketing, means different things to different people. To me, it's always been, if you have an assignment or a task that you want to understand, it's great to have data behind it to support the task at hand. So, for instance, when I was at the Cooper Group, there was an investment bank client that wanted to get an understanding of their high net worth individuals' accounts and offer them rewards and loyalty benefits through a digital loyalty campaign. And so, in order to do that, I had to refine the business analytics from a proprietary CMS, understand how the campaigns were operating from one to the next, understand things like open rate, click through rate, conversions, etc., and sort of uh, enable a way for the metrics to build a narrative around a product enhancement. So, business analytics is simply a way to uh, develop a narrative backed by data, and to bring it to the product marketing team saying, hey, open rates here are a little down. Maybe we could do something to change the copy of the email marketing subject line to increase open rates. Working with multiple teams across product engineering, sales, etc., is where I think product marketing fits in. And I find it's very exciting and different depending on which company you're at or what role you're playing.
That's a really great explanation. Thank you for that. And let's talk about like defining product marketing a little bit, and we'll deep dive into an example of, how you're using product marketing to drive innovation. From my perspective of product marketing, on its very simplest layman's terms, especially when we're dealing with technology products, it's the ability to take products to market, but also bring the products into the hands of customers. But there's a lot of like background work that's involved. Like if you reverse engineer and you think about how you're getting that product into the customer's hand, like that final touch point of how they begin to interact with it. There's so many things that happen in the background. There's so many different people that a product marketing function has to work with, from product management to sales, client services, marketing strategies, business strategy. And there's everything from like doing the research, scoping, narrative, getting all of that squared away, having messaging and positioning, and then choosing a strategy and execution plan to be able to take that product to market. There's all these individual steps that take place. And what makes it interesting and challenging from a technology sector standpoint is that in technology, you're moving at such a speed of light, at the speed of agile, like I like to say. I use those terms interchangeably because it does feel like you're moving at the speed of light uh, when you have these 1 week or 2 week sprints and you're trying to iterate and build products fairly quickly and get feedback and then build again. It makes for very interesting product marketing because there's a lot more work that's involved, that's not typical of, like, let's say like a CPG brand where you have like 12 months to plan in advance. This is all happening at the edge of your seat, at the tip of your toes, and you're always in motion. So it makes it for a very interesting formula. And with its challenges also comes a lot of pros, because if you can sort of get your handle on it, you can innovate, right? And be able to drive and gain market share relatively quickly. I'd love, Alex, to get your perspective on how you define product marketing, especially from, and then especially from like the example of like what you're doing now, and we can get into that as a next step as well.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. So product marketing is about getting products to market, as you said, but also enhancing existing products. And whether that happens through iterative sprints in an agile function, or through cross collaboration, internal and external clients giving feedback on what they think is critical, and maybe moving the mile marker a little bit, and the product team having to adjust to change in scope, is all a function of product marketing. There is a constant back and forth and learning opportunity for everybody across different teams. And what excites me about product marketing in the blockchain space is that there are so many different amazing, innovative technologies that come out, from groundbreaking cryptographic white papers to seeing proofs of concept built on top of those white papers, and then explaining them to a layman's audience or a B2B audience on, what is the real business value or the value proposition of this technology? Why does it matter, and how can it help me? So I think that might segue a little bit into product marketing for the blockchain sector, and I'd be happy to talk more about that as well.
Yeah, thank you for that background. I would love for us to talk about blockchain, because that's something you're doing now, and we had a chance to talk a little bit earlier before this call, just for me to get a perspective on blockchain. I'd love for you to explain that, like in 101 terms, to audiences from both like a end user's perspective and also from like a B2B, like a leader's perspective of like what it is and why they should really consider it. And then we'll from there talk about like how you're applying like product marketing concepts to be able to help people understand about blockchain itself.
Yeah, my pleasure. So blockchain 101. Let's see. Blockchain is a decentralized database that is immutable, meaning it cannot change. It is not controlled by any one authority, meaning it is not centralized, like, say, a Facebook or a Yahoo or an Equifax, for instance. It provides security guarantees that are not otherwise available for centralized databases. So when we see uh, security breaches that happen, and we see them every day, one of the benefits that blockchain technology poses for B2B customers is security enhanced databases. Uh, Beyond that, they are transparent. Public blockchains are transparent, I should clarify, and permissionless, meaning they are open source and anybody can dig into the code to see how it's operating and share that to build a new product. Permissioned blockchains, on the other hand, serve a different use case. And this might be important to businesses who are interested in keeping their data private and secure, such as financial services clients. We see blockchain across use cases across the spectrum of everything that pretty much touches the internet. You could think might be able to be productized to use a blockchain in the future. In this way, it's very exciting, like the beginning days of the internet, because of its simplicity as a decentralized database that offers the benefits of security, immutability, and scalability. We see opportunities to reinvent how current products work and to gain efficiencies in recreating them. For customers, this means you have increased privacy. You no longer have to worry about your social security number getting compromised by Equifax in a centralized database. It means that you will have an audit trail. For instance, regulations like GDPR, which govern EU members' personally identifiable information, such as names, birth dates, addresses, email addresses, passport IDs, etc. It provides protections for the customer as well. So that's an overview of B2B and B2C benefits for blockchain. Again, there might have been some jargon in there, so I'm happy to break it down a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's go into an example then of blockchain for if you want to talk it from about it from like a B2B perspective or a B2C. Like now, let's get the pedal to the metal and let's talk about that, because they're like, and I admit myself, I was telling you that I've been in technology for a while, but blockchain is one of those topics that are still elusive to me. And there's still, things as a business leader and then also as an end user, in which I need to start like understanding, like, okay, what is its biggest like use case for me and how am I going to start using it? Because it's like as I was sort of describing, it's like the funnel for product marketing is like a fourfold, right? It's awareness at the top, adoption, retention, and then being able to like grow out into any other audience segments. And so the trick, I guess, there is like there's a lot of people that are stuck on the top of the funnel, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
companies or whether it's customers. And so now we're going to start using like product marketing as a way to sort of like break down on that and use that as an example, because there's a lot that you're writing about. You mentioned you were writing for Forbes, and you write on this topic. How do we get into this? Like, what are some things you're doing maybe to sort of help people become more aware of it and adopt it, both I guess on the business side and the end user side?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should start with awareness, which is what a lot of my writing for Forbes newsletters addresses. And there we have an audience where they're highly sophisticated, very financially savvy, and want to understand how is Bitcoin, this decentralized commodity that runs on electricity and isn't really backed by any physical commodities, how does it have value? And actually, how is it the best performing asset across the entire stock market for the last 10 years, and how can I get a piece of it? So for this audience, I write about topics that are probably more familiar, such as derivatives, futures, and ETFs, which are exchange traded funds. So investment vehicles that let mom and pop get a slice of an index that could be themed for, say, communications technology, or financial technology, healthcare industry. And so in building awareness, I've been able to write for Forbes about crypto derivatives, what the evolution of index funds did for the entire market segment within financial services, how they evolved into exchange traded funds. And even today, we see that the Fed is now purchasing some ETFs in its bailout measures. So how can an emerging technology become something that is adopted, retained, and grown over time? These are the topics that I write about. And to give you an example, we can talk about ETFs, which was the last article I wrote for Forbes. So
Sure.
ETFs, as I mentioned, are exchange traded funds. This means that they track an index. So say you want to track the S&P 500, but you don't want to pay $2,500, whatever it's trading at today. You want to pay $250 because you're taking a proportion of that financial asset and creating an ETF that tracks it in kind. Well, with Bitcoin, it's an exciting new financial product, and people are interested in the gains. So in 2017, we saw that it shot to $20,000. That got a lot of people interested. And so they want to understand, how can I trade this in a regulated, consumer protected way? And today we can see that with exchange traded products like 3IQ's Bitcoin fund, which compiles Bitcoin and trades the exchange traded product reflecting the amounts of Bitcoin in custody by that company. So let me break that down a little bit more. Bitcoin is what helps people go down the rabbit hole to discover why blockchain matters. People get interested in the price activity and soon discover that blockchain can be applied across many industries, including supply chain management, identity, and even with tracking COVID cases in a privacy-preserving manner.
That is really interesting. And so by getting people to be more aware of it, um, let's talk a little bit about like that audience segment and like them being able to sort of go through their customer journey. Like, do you find there's like a level of like now awareness happening, which is then leading to some sort of like adoption with maybe like through influence of your articles in some way?
Sure, I'd be happy to speak about that. I can personally see that the metrics on the articles that I share increase over time, and the audience with which I share it expands through the analytics that I have set up on my website, etc. Now, the audience has been expanding generally beyond financial analysts to include, I believe, 80% of large cap corporations are exploring blockchain technology in some way today. And so we see the awareness almost coming to a crescendo. And now there are products that are coming out, like IBM's blockchain in partnership with Walmart that tracks food provenance. So making sure that food is safely delivered and comes from where it's supposed to come from. So in case there is a food shortage or something that is spoiled, throughout the food supply chain, IBM and Walmart are able to quickly track where it came from and cut off the supply of that particular product. Something that used to take a week or two to complete now takes less than an hour to determine where exactly in the supply chain that food is. So
That's
it appeals.
yeah. Hmm.
Sorry. So it appeals to a variety of markets and use cases.
That's great. And do you feel like any other things you're doing, like from a product marketing perspective, that's sort of driving innovation into this world of blockchain? You talk a lot about like awareness and the angles you're taking with your articles. It's leading to more understanding, which is eventually going to more getting people to become curious and getting them to adopt. Is there anything else from a product marketing, like innovative perspective, like with that you want to mention from this perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm also an ambassador with Algorand, which is a next generation blockchain company. And I've been really excited to see some of the advances that they've made, particularly with their developer relations and the developer portal. So there we can see how awareness has led to more people adopting the Algorand blockchain. And there are a number of use cases, which I'd be happy to highlight through partnerships of increased development, such as Dust Identity, which is a supply chain management firm using the Algorand blockchain. There's the first ever central bank digital currency, creating a national currency on the Algorand blockchain for the Marshall Islands, which suffer from liquidity issues and a very small population. There are innovations that we see from developers across the world. A lot of developers in Africa actually jumping on the Algorand blockchain network to build and innovate. So we see the adoption happening, and notably, Algorand is not a first mover, so they don't have the first mover advantage. However, Bitcoin and Ethereum are booming. They are now mainstream. And just recently, there was a statistic that I saw about Ethereum having the highest network transaction rates that it's ever had. And this is coming before a big product enhancement, which will move their underlying technology to proof of stake, which is something more efficient and less cost intensive. So as these different blockchains grow awareness, adopt more developers, and increase the retention of their clients over time, I think we're going to start to see huge trends in growth, whether it be for specific blockchains or across use cases, and industries entirely transforming as a result of them.
That's fantastic. I will definitely be reading your articles even more now, just so that I can keep up to date on it and see what like my next steps are for me in this world of blockchain. Like what I could be doing as an end user on the B2C side, right? So it's fascinating because there's a lot of applications for it, and that's what I find really exciting about technology is that it's almost very magical, right? There's so many different possibilities that you can take. There's now solutions to get anything done, or you can create a solution to make that happen. And blockchain, in a way, is also a very creative solution to be able to make new pathways in order for companies to be able to collect data, be able to collect money. And same thing on the B2C side too. It's not mutually exclusive just for companies themselves. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from you on, how people can learn what they're learning from you and how they can make that a bit more actionable. Is there like if for any of the viewers that are listening that are business leaders and anyone that's also, just individuals themselves that are just curious about this, what is one action item that you maybe would recommend them, after listening to this interview, of like what they could do in terms of them and blockchain to start reaping its benefits, right? Because there's a lot of like financial opportunities here as well. So how would we all go about this as our first action item?
Sure. So I think awareness comes first. I'd be happy to point you to some of my articles. Second, once you get skin in the game, it becomes a lot more real. So making a small investment, going to say a Coinbase and buying your first Satoshi, which is the smallest unit of account for Bitcoin, could get you interested. Reading about different updates from me, you can go to www.cryptopigeon.com. It's Pidgin, as in the language that precedes a Creole. Excuse me, I have a background in language and literature, so I'm a bit nerdy there. Or you can check out coindesk.com, Forbes crypto asset and blockchain advisor newsletter is another great resource where you can continue to see some of my work. And as a consumer, I'd recommend going to ireport.algorand.org, where you can submit anonymous information about COVID symptoms, if you have them, if you don't have them. What iReport does is it provides an immutable ledger for everybody to interact with in a privacy-preserving manner. So scientists can collect this data in the future and be able to come up with better vaccines and solutions for pandemics. Unfortunately, COVID has been detrimental, but this is probably not the last one.
Yeah, and there's so many applications of this too, right? You were talking about the data side of it, not just like the financial side. So there's, I think, for everyone's benefit, where we start educating ourselves on this. I'll definitely have the links to your articles available with this podcast so that people can read and follow along, because it's not something that we can ignore anymore, right? I'm a big believer that if there's technology out there and there are immediate benefits for you, you should really, it's our responsibility to a degree to be able to explore it and see, what we could do to try to help benefit ourselves. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And, I think I would love any of your other perspectives and like final closing thoughts, like from your perspective on what you're doing with blockchain, or any other perspectives from like a product marketing standpoint of how to utilize product marketing to help drive innovation with, wherever people find themselves in whichever part of the technology industry.
Yeah, sounds great. So I think one thing that is always needed is crypto education. So that's where the awareness comes in. Another thing that we need are developers. We need developers who understand the benefits of a decentralized ecosystem. And we need businesses who are interested in benefiting from a system that has fewer frictions than the legacy system, whether this be in finance, healthcare, marketing, Web3, which is an exciting shift from Web 2.0 to a decentralized ownership model. There are a number of things. So from a product marketing perspective, one thing that I'd really like to see more of is blockchain analytics companies like Coinmetrics or Amber Data that provide an overview of the blockchain health and performance, so businesses and consumers can understand what is the best blockchain solution for my particular problem.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And are there any handles that people can follow along with the blog posts, links and websites that you mentioned, if people want to follow your work along?
Absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Alex Broudy. It's spelled Broudy. You can find me on Twitter at crypto_pigeon. It's spelled Pidgin. You can find me on Medium at Alex Broudy. same spelling as before. And I'd be happy to share other links with you as well after our interview.
Yeah, definitely. I will make sure I put all of that in for everyone to be able to follow along. Thank you so much for being on this show and sharing your perspectives about blockchain, how you're driving innovation with it from a perspective of product marketing. And thank you for all the work that you're doing with all your articles. It definitely is something that the world needs to understand more of. So you're in a very unique niche and you're doing a really great work to help with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sana. And I appreciate you taking the time to put this together. I really enjoy what you've done with the Product Marketing Institute and look forward to staying in touch and seeing where it goes.
Thank you.